All right, guys, thank you so much again for being here in this new podcast, The Services Elevator. We're here with our first guest, Mark from F&F Supply. Mark Redlefsen is one of the biggest influencers right now in LinkedIn, going into the meetings in this community, in this industry. And I have the pleasure to have it here to ask him some questions as an outsider, a newbie in this industry, basically. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me here, and thanks to Carlos and for building this platform. I'm doing good.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, it's a hot day today in New York. I hope this doesn't change your plans too much with your daily basis. We're gonna have some only just questions. We talked about this prior. Let me know who is Mark. Who? What do you do?
Who am I?
What do you do? What are your like the basic activities? What do you do? Your customers? Tell me something about
Sure
you.
thing. So I owe my being here to, as a professional to F&F Supply at this moment. F&F Supply is an over 85-year-old supply company based in the Bronx, family owned, Jacobs family, 5 generations strong. I think the 6th generation is just coming right now. The family's growing and the company's growing. And the specialty of the company is for the residential building market, primarily in New York City, in the areas of janitorial, plumbing, construction, paint. You guys are painting companies, so I knew you'd like that. Anything that affects a residential building operating, from a tissue box to a snowblower, right? To you mentioned it being hot, so air filters.
Okay.
You name, besides the machinery that we sell also for buildings to operate with, it's a wide variety that takes up 2 city blocks in the Bronx. And I'm proud to work for them because they have a good reputation. They're trusted by a lot of the managers and owners within New York City. So I'll start there for the company itself.
Beautiful. How long you been working with FNF?
Been working for F&F Supply for a little under 3 years. They found me in the midst of some resident manager meetings visually, at least Brian, the son, did. And that's why I say to go out and network. Sometimes people find you.
Exactly. And you told me once that you didn't even apply for the job. They asked you for the thing, right?
They contacted me, but I would say, depending on the market you work in, which is this residential building market, if you're in the market and you're meeting people, that bears well for companies, right? So it depends on what you sell. Being in the supply business is different than my background. My background in business was primarily from an events business. I mostly sold sponsorship and events, sitting behind a desk, drinking coffee, cracking jokes, flying out to meetings. And that was the largesse of what I did until COVID came. And then I ended up in restoration for a little bit, and then I got plucked out of restoration by F&F. And I, coming into the supply side of the business, it's been a fantastic journey so far. As far as, I don't know if that answers what I did professionally. You want to know about me? We can do that too.
Yeah, basically. I mean, the whole thing, the whole point of this podcast is Brizacorp is a new company coming into this city, gaining some traction with customers and clientele, and basically is to contrast with people like you that has been in the industry for a long time with an F&F Supply. And I want to know, we already knew what is F&F Supply. Now I want to know what about you? What do you do? What are your motivations?
I'll do it quick because some people do biography channel. We're not on that, but me, easy on paper. I am Queens born, Queens strong, by Jamaica Avenue, Queens Village, a long time ago. And I'm from a family, I'm one of 3 kids. My father was a Con Edison welder in all different capacities. My mother worked for Trinidadian Oil Company, and I was very much Queens. I went to public school 7 years. I did Holy Cross High School and then St. John's University. And in the midst of living in Queens, you meet so many people that I still even see today in this industry that, they're just everywhere from either St. John's or Holy Cross. And so my background, even though I went to school for like government and history, which was just kind of interesting time passer. The most of what I ended up doing was in sales and marketing afterwards. So that's like the mini version.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So basically, we're located in New York, one of the biggest cities in the world, with the most amount of buildings in the New York City area, right? So, in this experience, as you being a sales representative for this company, what are your takes for the people who come into the industry? What it takes to be part of the industry? Um, you know people, different vendors, different type of companies. What makes one guy survive in this industry, and wait, what killed him?
A lot of questions in one, right?
Yep, very
So,
much.
so to answer, number one, it depends on what you sell to some degree and what your target market is, right? So, target market that I spend most of my time in is residential, a smattering of commercial, and F&F has both clients. But if your focus is, let's say, both markets, where are they? Are you selling to the building level? Are you selling to the property management or the ownership level? You'll get varying questions and answers. I've had to deal with both in my past life, but if you are tasked with sales, I speak from the perspective of someone in sales. I'm not a entrepreneur. I'm not like, phony makeup influencer guy. Um, I look at it, if you work hard, where would you do that work? How would you do it? So I'll speak for residential buildings. One of the blessings of coming into, like, say, F&F Supply, keeping it very real by getting out to the residential buildings, face to face, with the superintendents, with the resident managers, with the various staff in the buildings. There are several buildings in this past year that I've experienced where the guy at the front door became the resident manager. You
Yeah.
better be nice, not just be nice to everybody, but look at the building as a living organism of people. So sometimes you're chasing buildings, you're chasing companies, you're chasing portfolios, but to go to the long end of your question, right, the end of it, what should you do? Know who you're selling to. Like, a lot of guys confuse and gals confuse maybe their target market. Get a control of that and divide it between your worker bee work, which, I know people build a database. They're calling people, they're emailing people. If if you're selling to physical buildings, visit the physical buildings. It'll cure the blues. It'll make you a more real person and more relatable and able to talk about your solution, without seeming very fake. So doing that, like being not afraid of your job, actually is big. If you want to do the hermit crab thing and play with your laptop all day, if you're selling something that applies to, maybe, but we're talking about this space. Who's in this space? So again, we're a supply company. You guys are a paint company. There's plumbers, there's electricians, right? There's people putting in flooring. These are real things, real people. Don't be afraid of going to buildings, building and saving your contact information, and get a memory bank going. And another step of that is also obviously networking, which we could talk about, which is something else.
Well, that something else is something really hard, because right now, for example, I'm getting into these networking events and all these meetings, and I'm seeing he has an incredible talent who remember every single. What is that? Oh, all right. I was confused. Sorry. So, what I was saying. So he has a really great talent. He can remember all the names, all the last names, all the names, the complete names of the association. Obviously, with practice comes this talent, but he has the whole situation under control. And I have the luck to go with him to a couple of meetings, and he introduced me to all these people in here. And that's remarkable how you relate with them, how you treat them, how you respect them. And actually, we have a funny history between you guys, between us, right? The guy with the hat, and we're gonna talk with that of that later. But let's keep it first to understand about this industry, about our daily jobs, how you get the clients, how you get to convince them to talk with them, to make the relationship with them, only with the meetings, or you visit actually the buildings every day, right?
I do both, right? So I do believe fundamentally, if you're visiting buildings, you are building a case every day. You are meeting people every day, no question. The meetings, I think, for different resident manager organizations, and there are other organizations outside of the resident manager space, that the more you involve yourself with what I'll call the industry, the better for to that degree. So if you're building your worker bee work habits of visiting buildings, collecting information, giving information, building some kind of sales pipeline and interest in your product or service, fantastic. You're doing baseline good. Networking is just like breaking down another wall and going like fourth, fifth dimension, right? Which is
Okay.
you are going to a resident manager meeting and these, let's say, resident manager clubs are built for resident managers and some vendor interaction and community. The positives of a resident manager club, and I'll try and list through them, is a sense of fraternity, right? Community, and also a nice dose of charity that you'll see amongst the clubs. And I think there's an education basis that comes from it too, because they're learning from each other. They're also learning from experienced vendors, also new technologies, new companies, new people, and then should a meeting have a guest speaker who's, let's say, a property manager or just someone of interest from the industry that they don't normally hear from on a certain basis. Great. So that's like description of resident manager clubs. I'll list clubs just because it can get confusing. Manhattan Resident Manager Club is one, right? New York Building Managers is another. It's the oldest. Then you'll have like the Metropolitan Building Managers Association, and you have the Scandinavian Building Managers Guild, right? Then you also have the Illyrian Building Managers Association, right? Largely for the Albanian community. You also have the Emerald Guild, which is a venerable, older, Irish-centric building managers organization. You have another different version of that, if you will, which is the Hibernian Building Managers Association. You also see newer mini groups pop up. I'm in one called the Manhattan Vendors Group, which is companies that are vendors and service-oriented that just share amongst each other, share amongst the type of work and clients and referrals in a tight-knit group. Now, that's just one pocket. And again, I know this podcast isn't like 9 hours, so if you're chasing, let's say, the commercial space, and I used to go to a lot of these organizations, I would recommend people explore organizations like BOMA, right, IFMA, IBEC, QBBA, also, like, not to be gender centric, but women in construction, right?
Very important
There,
right now
there
to
are
mention, yeah.
there's so many, and I'm only naming a few on all these that you could splinter off into. You also have to find out what works for you, or you're getting some sense of your target market. The more you veer off your target market and ask another vendor to tell his boss about you, which I see guys do, it's just a harder path, and you're asking people to do your heavy lifting. You figure out your target market best you can, and do the footwork to pursue it. There's a lot of places to do it.
And that's something that a lot of people underestimate. Not only in this industry, in a lot of industries, they don't niche too much their own clientele and understand what they need, what are their pains, and that's something that, again, as a newbie in the industry and the community, he's been teaching me. We specialize in cleaning and painting. We are trying to adopt this turnover specialist name, but he actually explained to me like there is some sort of confusion between some words and some meanings of this phrase, for one way or another to say, right? When you go into these places, what are you seeing actually? What are you looking for in these meetings?
So when you look in a room, it'll look different sometime later than when you first walk into it. When you first walk into a room, we're going to have a hyper confusion as to who's who and what's what. a bunch of people standing around in suits. Who's your market and who's your vendor, new friend. The sooner you figure that out, the better. You should befriend somebody who may be talkative and help you, or say, well, this is, and then the next time you come in that same room or another room, it'll appear a little more easier in how you talk to people. So resident managers, if you're at a club where some of these guys are coming to relax and learn, they don't necessarily want to be tackled like it's football. But they're
That's
social
correct,
enough
yeah.
to learn about, let's say, a company like yours that offers an option. You don't have to do that in totality on the first at hello, right? I mean, it could be a quick hello. Hey, my first time at the club. Let me be silly and give you a card, and and nice to talk to you. And then you do the research.
Just the introduction, at
You
least.
should read, like, if the guy told or gal told you their name, do your best to remember it, look it up, try and use LinkedIn as a tool to connect instead of needling them while they're standing there just trying to maybe relax, and they're willing to hear your story a little bit and move on. If they want to hear
You
something
can feel
deep,
the vibes. Who are you connecting actually, and then
Yeah.
start the conversation.
and as you go, repetition is a real master of things. No real magic, right? If you go to something over and over and over, it works for you because you understand in the room. There's always new faces in the room, and maybe the same people won't be there all the time, but the repetition is your own growth if you, again, are in the right room for what you're selling. If it's just brand recognition alone, right? So it doesn't have to be a transactional event every time you go to a meeting. Someone joked to me going, what's the thing which is showing up at a thing repetitiously, seeing the same people? How's that work? I go, I don't know. Ask some guy who goes to church. Yeah. These things happen like in succession. You figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. So from all these experiences, what do you will say that is like the most valuable thing that you learn from these meetings and meeting all these people, getting all these gatherings together?
I don't know if it's a valuable thing, right? Maybe it's a few, but if you and I were on the street today, which is very hot, and you asked me, why do you bother at all to go to these things? I would say, number one, and this I could put on someone, learn to like it. Learn to like being in your own industry. If you treat it like a task or a chore or, man, I got to go to that thing again, I'm so sorry to hear that. I have definitely known for myself, I like being in a room of people. Maybe some of that's social and I find it business necessary. But if you like it, it gets a lot easier. So we'll put that as that makes the other things easier. Valuable, I don't think there's a phrase that pays or a magic moment where it all lights up while you're in the room, but things can unlock for you by you being social and talking with people. If they remember what you do, they might call you outside of being in that room. They may talk to you because you're in that room, and you can't be like friends with people just because they do business with you. And I'm friends, acquaintances, those words get very strange in business, but be nice to everybody. I tend to have fun with people that, like, for whatever reason, like, I don't work with them. I treat them like and have fun with it because they're people and it's a people business, and people don't want to see shifts in your personality that you're a sociopath or nut job. They want to see that you're open and transparent because they have bosses to report to, and they're looking at social media, and they're looking at the backgrounds on companies, and they're looking at insurance certificates and things like that. The easier you make it to be transparent and easy, the better. So the valuable thing is just put your like and energy into it, and the rest will sort of unlock itself.
There is something called common sense, and it's not common at all. But the thing is, what you said before, you have to like what you're doing, basically, and understand that you're in a different circle of people, that they follow some rules. Me, for example, I don't like ties, but I start liking them when I start wearing them, basically. So that's a nice example of how you should approach this type of places, right?
I see a whole culture of people not liking wearing ties. Now, I did 4 years in a Catholic all-boys school, Holy Cross, which you wearing a tie and jacket or you're getting smacked in the head, right, by authority. I mean, it wasn't fun then. I look at it like a lot of the resident manager community, They're wearing ties, and superiors are wearing ties at the meetings. Uh, their staff, right, that eventually move up, they're all wearing ties. It's respect to them because if they're wearing it and they dictate the terms and codes of the meeting, who am I not to respect that? I don't even think it's worth questioning. Remember, it's called a resident manager club. It's not a club where you do what you feel like. And when you look at like why you wear a tie and jacket in the first place, let's say discipline. Discipline is doing things you don't really want to do,
That's super
but you got to
important.
do
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
So it's strange when like people become like super adults and then they're like, I don't feel like doing that. What else don't you feel like doing? And that's a downhill slope on a lot of descriptions. So if you can't remember, I don't know, wear a tie to something you're supposed to, it's probably not the best thing.
No, and in the moment that you enter to the room, you feel there is some rules to follow, even if they're not like scripted in a piece of rock, but at least you understand there is rules that you have to follow, right?
Order is good, right? So order in a meeting, even if when they get to the Pledge of Allegiance and everything's fine. Right now you want to see order break up. Just Lord of the Flies. Who wants that, right? There's a version of it right now on Netflix. If anyone needs a refresher, but you want some kind of order. Order without some kind of order, chaos is everybody just feeling like they should do what they want. And that's not a club or an organization or even an industry. So everything around us right now in this room is a building, right? Physically here in Manhattan, people run it, people maintain it, people pay for it, people service it, so I don't like to belittle that in this work. And the people I talk with, I generally get a sense that they're in the same wavelength of protecting what they have and adding and not subtracting as a vendor or supplier.
Correct, correct. So, in what moment, you're a veteran going into these meetings and in all these circles. When was that moment when you realized that this place has so many rules and you understood like how to go with them?
I don't think there was a moment. I just think I came in and they said, you got a tie and jacket, you got to, you pay your dues. I could see the way there's okay, guys, settle down. There's a Pledge of Allegiance. There's a come to order. There's a hammer, whacking away on a podium. You could say the first meeting, and you were like, oh, okay. I think outside of the Resident Manager Club, if we go outside of New York City, right, there are people in like Rotary clubs, and they're in all sorts of other like Elks Lodge clubs that have their own little orders. I just think people are not used to that in some cases based on being addicted to their phone growing up, right? They don't go to physical meetings and they're like, oh, what's this? This has been going on forever. It's just another section of it. So again, having been to civics meetings and things like in college and things like that, it didn't strike me as crazy.
But at least, I'm asking this question because if you come from your background of events and then these meetings that you just find certain levels of ego and people that are entitled to ask for something, in that moment, that was gradually that when you understood that this has to be rules that needs to be followed, or you just like,
I think just from business and like I say, events background for me, wearing a shirt and tie and being attentive to people where there's money involved was not strange. I didn't, and because the club, the ages of the club had traditions, I didn't find it, like a moment came and then I went, okay, I got it. I sensed it the minute I was invited to the meetings.
all right. So if you're a vendor, basically here in New York, in for any type of services, products, or any type of business related for buildings, these have Mark just said all the groups that he goes and mentioned some of them that you don't, right? But whoever who is seeing this podcast who understand that there is a bunch of communities, a lot of people getting every single week and doing some activities as golf, dinners. They teach also because I have this experience with Dennis from HVAC. I forgot his name, the name of the company.
Dennis Sherney, look, you got a plug. And for his company's Den Air.
Denner.
Don't forget that, Dennis.
Don't forget. Okay, you're gonna get stuck right now. I learned something really cool from him. What are the rules or the laws that you're most applied in this like vendor visits to your residents? That you was teaching me something about those type of things in a phone call we have a couple days ago. The
Right.
rules of the city, some of them.
So you're talking about local law, right?
Yeah.
So local laws that are issued in New York City Council, otherwise apply to different things in buildings, and your business and someone else's business may affect them differently. So um, so you see different numbers like local law 88, local law
That's
152.
confusing. For example, for me
It's
getting into
it's
the
not
industry.
it's
Yeah.
not non-confusing. So, I would say someone Googling and seeing where it applies, whether it's changing the lighting to LED, right, or whether it's a lot of the new compost laws, right, for compost bags and bins and what you're supposed to have. There's like a lot of regulated behavior and activity in the city right now that is not totally optional and enforced by fines. So when you look at gas detectors, for instance, which seems onerous until there's an explosion, like there was in the East Village back a couple of years back. Uh, the idea of putting these in buildings where there is gas, it may even seem inconvenient to people, but how else are you going to find like gas? I lived in a building 10 years ago, and a girl across the hall left the gas on, and I was going out to work, and I got out, I smelled it in the hallway. I called the super. He got in there. I guess, left it on. I mean, I don't want to find out that way. It could have been worse. So, local laws in general, see how they apply to your business, and at least show an awareness. I would say go online, look at New York City's like local laws. I don't want to list it because we'd be here all day if we listed all of them,
Yeah.
but they will apply to areas with energy use, right? Lighting, like I said, gas detectors, and a whole bunch of others with facade and different areas of buildings. More the physical aspect of the building with facade and things like that, you guys might pay more attention to, but live and learn. But local law, and then figure out where you fill in with it. At least be aware of it when you talk to people.
And that's the difficult part. Like, be aware if you're like so stuck into your daily basis job that you don't get updated with the new stuff. In this type of meetings, you can easily at least talk with the people who is related with the same topic, right?
You're going to meet people outside of, you'll meet some informative resident managers that may themselves talk on shows and things, right? You'll also see like the Cooperator is an event, but Cooperator News, right? It's got interviews with, the perspectives can always be from resident managers, owners, and even vendors and, service companies. Real Deal is a very famous company. But again, people get in their little silo. They might think, oh, well, real estate or construction. Okay, new construction, right? Which is different than like where I spend my time, which is in residential buildings already made. I'll visit new construction once it's done and see if we're going to fly down the lane together. But there's a lot coming at people in information. Grab onto a few things and make a friend or two who's some kind of verbose consultant who's always appearing on LinkedIn. You see many. No one has time for everybody, but if you just watch what they have to say, you'd be smarter than you were a minute ago, probably, if you watch some of it.
Okay. All right.
I have a question for you. Sorry. We all see you doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. What about if you can talk a little more about LinkedIn? How LinkedIn help you connect more people, and how is that tool to sell to?
Sure. So LinkedIn in business, when you think about it evolved and then we evolved, we come to it at some point. I talk to too many people that say, oh, I don't even have a LinkedIn profile. My feeling, again, this is if you're in sales and business and awareness and you're spreading marketing and you're tasked with sales, you want to be a secret agent with your business, go ahead, see how it goes. I don't recommend it. LinkedIn has been an established platform for business. I don't care if people say, oh, I like it or I don't like it. It's what is. You can subordinate to the purposes it has among people you know. If you don't want to, I just think it's harder. For me, where I found it easier or better, once you put your profile together on LinkedIn, at least professionally, again, you're not saying I went to the beach and all that sort of stuff. You're putting your company and you're stating that, and you're connecting with people. Look, the people are going to be trying to connect with you, but if you're not using it to connect with other people, I'm like, what else are you doing? Online, people have time to do like online shopping and, you know, all sorts of stuff. You don't have time to connect with people in your target market. I feel so bad about that. I think if the more you can outreach with people, people will try to connect with you. You're trying to build bridges all the time. If you're not doing it in the doorway of a building, LinkedIn is not a popularity contest per se, right? And you're reaching people because you think you can affect the marketplace with what you do. You're not on it just because you said, look, I got a new jacket. So for F&F Supply, there's a few synergies that are great. You know, I had like some 1,000 contacts before I came to F&F Supply. They have a monstrous universe that they had before I came to them. Some of it we share, like a percentage of it we share, and then that universe growing. So some of it's you personally, you know, having that, your company having that, and then what do you do with that real estate? So I tend to put events because they're actually happening, right? They're things I went to. They're not like, I don't think I'm Paris Hilton just showing up saying I'm having fun. I feel like I'm connecting with people that are worth connecting to in business, and you know, maybe they become your friend too. So LinkedIn, if you're active, define active. I don't know if you have to put something out every day. I'm not saying you have to push out every day. You should be connecting with people every day, and they're going to find you. And if they are, good. And then maybe, what does that mean? You're going to see them? Maybe. Maybe you're having a coffee or lunch? Maybe. But if you're putting out something about your company and you're putting that content out there, you have a better chance of other people seeing it. And if they see it and say, oh, wow, I love that, and or they send you a message, I think the playing with LinkedIn, which is generally most people use like the free version, why wouldn't you? How much time does it take? It doesn't take that much time. So if you're producing high quality video like this, you have something to be proud of. Maybe you want to see it get pushed out. But the fun part, I'll say, about LinkedIn, not connected to the just morose business stuff, is people seeing your face that you didn't even know you forgot about. Like connecting with people that go, hey, I know you 5 years ago, and hey, I want to talk to you. There could be an end result you never anticipated in ways that you wouldn't be able to believe. But you have to be in it to do it. We're strange culture now, right? We're all big on our phone. Everybody's playing with Instagram and doing things like that. But they're shy about LinkedIn. Why? Right? Why? It doesn't make any sense. But back to the discipline thing. Do it anyway.
I would do from my perspective. I will say I have more experience with Instagram or Facebook, all this type of stuff, because it's easily to do social, but you're using it as a tool for your brand, because basically it's your brand. Not only F&F Supply, you as your brand.
Sure, but also on the social networks like Instagram and Facebook, you might have end user sales stuff that might be easier, right? People use it for that. I rarely put like an F&F thing on Instagram, just say, hey, look, here's an event I went to once in a while, just to keep it, you know, a little less boring with pictures of me at a restaurant with my wife or something. So once in a while I'll do, but on it, so you can have both. You don't have to do one or the other.
Different tools.
But elevating it to where you see, let's say, Fortune 500 and startup companies, areas they spend time in, depending on who they're selling to, is like LinkedIn. If something replaces LinkedIn, it would have done it by now. I'm not saying it won't do it in the future, but at this point, it's a very powerful platform, but it's really based on you, like, using the platform.
Yeah, I think that is more towards like B2B, and make the people that professionally build their own brands in that same way, like professionally, not only just pictures and likes and comments.
And not everything is written in stone as rules, right? So I'm looking at it from, you know, I work in a business that is an old company that understands the space in a traditional, you know, real estate space. It's not, you know, far out AI technology stuff. It's something that makes sense to be there. So you figure out in your business if it makes sense to be there or not. You know, if you're in paint, I would think so, right? We sell paint, by the way. Benjamin Moore, right? I mean, Who you live in Brooklyn or Queens?
Queens.
Okay, I forgot. So I was gonna say immigrated to Brooklyn.
That's
Benjamin
weird
Moore.
that this guy forgot something. I will tell you that. That's
It's a long day and night from yesterday's events, but uh, you know we can only remember everything as best we can, and that's like anything we just talked about today. Most of this is a best you can. Keep some kind of discipline or metrics to yourself so that it should hurt a little bit, actually. All this networking, all this LinkedIn, it should hurt a little bit so that you're actually working and you're not doing like fantasy video.
beautiful. All right. So basically, what we're doing here is enjoying the job that we're doing. Me as a sales rep for Brizacorp, and you, and F&F Supply, we're trying new things. This is one of those. What do you think? I mean, this question is to just start the conversation with the how do you say it when you break the dimension and start talking with your audience, resident managers. So let's get into them. What do you think are the biggest pains and issues they have, and the vendor doesn't understood or doesn't think about it?
When you talk to resident managers, they'll share with you, or at meetings, and you get to know them. They have like a multi-front challenge. Number one, just their job in building, right? And keeping it tight, dealing with their staff. Just their daily job is one thing. Second thing, dealing with the board that lives there, that dictates a lot of their destiny and expenditures and priorities, and maybe they don't see things the same way. But that's one set of people to keep happy. Another people to keep happy is the management company put in place to manage the building. So they're having to deal with staff, board, also, like I said, the management company. And at any one time, if you talk to a resident manager, the buildings to me are like snowflakes. They're all the same, but they're all different, right? So
Very much.
So one might be more a pain than another for somebody. Because of the financial constraints a building might be under, it might limit some of the options or ambitions that they have. If they're trying to comply with the laws and yet they want to do all cool next-gen kind of amenities for their building, they may be challenged with that. So if you have proposals sitting in front of resident managers that boards have to look at, that management companies have to approve, it might be a process you're not so aware of that they're having to deal with. So that's the shortest answer I could think of.
What are your takes about tech in the industry? What do you know? What do you think it's gonna happen with tech?
I don't want to say like I'm the everything man for tech because watch, I don't want to do free plug a go-go, but like a company like named Super, right? Lindsay, Lou, you just heard this. Putting in place automation like that has a lot of the resident manager function or monitoring of a building, that's like another level of the future that is there. I don't know how fast it goes. Automation in general, I sold years ago, and I learned that the adoption process of buildings to a lot of different automations is way different. You can't just spec it in with an architect necessarily, and that'd be nice, but it doesn't totally work like that. You may have individual unit owners adopt technology in different ways. Now, when you look at companies in the space on energy savings and just complying with local laws, there's a lot of technology involved in that, right? In checking the energy levels in a building and the costs and generating reports, and then letting building boards and management companies make decisions on what to use. So I think that the word tech is huge, right? Because I'm just talking about what I see in residential buildings. In let's say
that's exactly what I want.
but
to
like think about new construction, right? I mean, endless dimensions of using AI and drones and planning and
so far you will say like the competition is really low in solutions for buildings.
I wouldn't say that. I'm not in this interview at this time fully versed in what the exact challenge is of the speed of tech coming at the buildings and the people who have to pay for the buildings and the vendors involved inside the buildings. But we're all getting there, right? I mean, I use AI in a couple of ways in my business, right? When I can't identify something, right? Oh, what's this? Send it. Boom! It's a thing they don't make anymore, Mark. And these guys don't make it either. Like knowing that quick, okay, that's an AI tech hack.
Exactly.
But realize that we're building, like, I'm just one part of a normal operating building. Just think about the technology for architects, designers, right? GCs. That's endless. I don't want to over comment on an area that I don't spend that much time. But you'll ask someone smart on this one at some point.
Well, I actually ask you about this because it's kind of tricky because we may mostly rely on tech for our daily operations. We provide to the client with a platform to manage their own turnovers and paintings, right? But the thing is, with your experience, talking with the people, talking with the vendors, you think there is a bunch of these activities getting adopted in the industry? I will say, for example, we spoke it a couple of weeks ago about AI. AI, when you mention AI, all the people feel smarter right away, right? But and you use it, and it's not like that difficult. But the thing is, you're seeing that actually there is people providing solution with some sort of tech, with some sort of platforms in different industries, or maybe your competition, let's say, in the way that they order, for example. You're seeing people adopting this type of techniques, text or not?
Not necessarily. Some people order from us online. Some people order by text, by phone. The ordering and how they see, let's say, products they need and our stuff, I don't want to over mystify that. But to a degree that you might care and Carlos might care, let's observe your business, right, for a second. Just my takeaway for Brizacorp, when you think paint, you could think very hand to mouth on paint. I saw the fact that you can schedule a painter's job through technology a lot smoother than, oh, I hope the guy shows up, or I hope I have the right amount of painters. I found that compelling. And speaking to Carlos about it, I saw Carlos put a trick up that I'm going to use, right? This is for me. He was like, why guess certain paint colors? Now, when you do, when you're matching paint colors, I'm tearing chips off the walls in some cases, and we can match. But he mentioned, through AI, how to match a color that exists in full rooms and different versions and narrowing it down. That's fascinating. That's actually, that's a financial solution. So rather than talking abstract, your business has technology to it, to a traditional business. I think it's attractive. It's not like calling a guy in his garage and hoping he's there, and maybe they paint some days, maybe they don't. And I think people are going to want scaled painting operations at their fingertips.
Pretty much. I mean, all the people, they want everything at their fingertips. The food, even the connections, basically.
Sure. Remember, people order from us online, but I want to distinguish those automations between where you see technology growing in certain. So that's a big conversation, by the way.
Yes. For
a lot of different companies that'll tell you what they're doing, and better for them to say it.
No, and I just realized that it's like a study realized for an university. I don't want to mention the name because I barely read it. It was like the manager buildings and property managers are most of the time that they spend working is dealing with the vendors, dealing with the orders they have. So 80%, almost something like that. So if we thought, or if we try to implement this type of solution in different companies about tech and make it things more smooth, it will create like it would rumble the wall that right now we have with the property managers, because we're meeting with them every single week. They're not like that young, so they don't adopt this type of solution so easy.
You're integrating technology, right? You're not replacing anything. So the big fear conversation with AI and robotics is, oh my God, I want my job replaced. One thing I love about this space, not replacing plumbers,
Yep.
right? And not replacing people that are working on electricity, right? So where is that a fear element? I think people might be a little bit hesitant, but integrating technology with traditional solutions is makes sense, and everyone in their jobs trying to get better to do that.
Easy to do, yeah, 100%.
You know?
So changing the subject a little bit, I heard that your wife is Albanian, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Have you been there?
I've been to Albania twice. I plan, if the calendar lines up this August, to possibly go north. So my wife is from the city of Korça in Albania. I had been all over Albania, whether it be Saranda, Vlora, Tirana, but I hadn't been north yet, above into Kosovo and into
Kosovo,
Montenegro.
that's beautiful.
So why not just go? In this industry, so much of the guys and gals that work in it, it's actually really fun to talk to people that I have through my own life from my wife's family and people. There's so much crossover that I'm like, I'm just going to go to these cities now, and it'll be great. There's a lot of natural beauty in the north that I hadn't been exposed to. In the south area, the beaches were fantastic. There's a lot of history in the capital of Tirana. Again, it's only X amount of years out of, let's say, communism for Albania, and also for Kosovo. So, like, there's so many things growing and happening, and you should view it with excitement and interest, because it's like you can get same access to a European beach at a very different pricing than, I must go to Italy, or I must go. Really?
Actually, yeah.
Go to Albania, okay, and enjoy what's there. I'll go to Kosovo and knock out in Montenegro and all these areas.
I heard a lot of Montenegro. Montenegro has a really
Sure.
nice places.
But it's like, if I go, I'll see it, and it'll be like a whole different experience. So that'll be a third time, and we'll see. Again, in that process, I'll see a lot of my wife's family. And you know what? But I think if I go north, I'm going to see a lot of resident managers and supers in our industry that
Like in the
they're going to
photos
be
of
like,
this.
"What are you doing here?" I think that's going to happen for sure. So
Okay.
so that'll be fun.
And you already understand a little bit language, or what? You know.
Pak Shqiptari.
But I mean,
That's all right. That means a
You're
little
very
bit,
good.
a little bit of Albanian.
all right.
Enough to function, and you just learn more as you move through it, and you learn more words and phrases and things as you experience things. And one of the fun of this business is you're always meeting people that are going to ask or say something, and then it just triggers more words and more
Okay.
phrases, you know?
And you have all the tricks under the sleeve. That's something good.
I don't know if I have tricks. I again, when I'm in Albania or another country, whatever, I'm in their country. I can't act too smart.
You can relate.
I'm at the mercy of learning, right? You
That's
know?
something humble. That's great.
I try, like, again, I'm second generation mix of German, Danish, and a little bit of Polish, and I don't know everything about where I'm from. I've visited and places and seen faces, but humble when I'm there.
And I heard that you're a musician, or you're just like you're into music.
Me, a musician? No, I've always been into music, right? I've always played. I played bass guitar since I was like 16, and I'm not trying to be a professional musician. My brother is like professional drummer, who's had bands and different things, and what he did is different than what I wanted to do, was just play bass and hang out. And with this business, I jammed once with Don Galestino, right? He had bass guitars in his house. You can have fun at different things. I went to some charity gala. The guy had a big bass. I was like, "Yeah, let me play it." Next thing you know, you're playing it, so you have fun with it. But like music and motivation, it also teaches you about business. I think so. So favorite like rock bands, right? Like Deep Purple, King Crimson, Yes, Led Zeppelin, Porcupine Tree, Nick Cave, jazz, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, John Zorn, Anthony Braxton, all these kinds of people. Some of them, they didn't really pursue money, but they made a lot of product. I'm very fascinated with that. To do technique and not looking to be a hedge fund level earner, and you can love an art that much, fascinates the heck out of me. I've never had the discipline to perform an instrument to a level like.
A discipline guy say that he didn't have the discipline to play. All right, that's something.
I'm admitting it. I played and practiced, and I found out that I was more, better at being social with music and things like that. I still love going to concerts. I love it, and I think when I meet resident managers and vendors, that something
Come up.
resonates in their office, in their van. There's something about music that we like click. It's a great feeling. It's fun.
Yeah.
You're gonna find something. You might as well just enjoy whatever it is that's natural. It doesn't have to be artificial.
Yeah, definitely. Music is the biggest conversation starter. We're getting into the end of this interview. Again, Mark, thank you so much for being
Thank
part
you for having
of
me.
this space. We have a new experience called Breeze Night, and we already spoke about that. Guys, we're gonna start explaining to you what we're doing in this city, with what people we're meeting, and you're gonna be part of this whole journey. We're one of the biggest, coolest cities in the world, and we're gonna create with Brisa one of the most epic nights. It's Brisa Night, and you're gonna meet all the people, the interesting people who runs the background of this city, really. So if you wanna understand how this city gets run by these people, just stay tuned. We're building this community for you guys, and we're putting a lot of effort and bringing more guests. Comment and subscribe and tell us which people you want to see. If you want to know who is running which building, just also comment.